let me say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you who are viewing via GBN TV, Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20, good morning. Those of you via social media platforms, good morning. Welcome to, of course, Tuesday's editions of To The Point. Today being the 9th day of July. I'm your host, GT. I'll be with you for the next hour. And it's Opposition Tuesday here on the program this morning. And I want to take the time out to welcome our representative this morning. We have, of course, MP, the Honorable Emmalin Pierre, with us this morning, representing the opposition here in Grenada. And let's go over and say good morning to MP, Honorable Emmalin Pierre. Good morning. If you're hearing me, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to you, JT.
How are you this morning?
I am good, thank you. Good morning to all of your listeners as well, and viewers, I would imagine.
All right. Are we able to get well, we're not going to get a video of you this morning, so we're going to use that still for a wee bit, so that's okay. Tell us, how has it been? It's, the Hurricane Beryl has passed through Grenada, and of course our sister isles of Carriacou, the northern part of the island feeling the brunt. The sister isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, of course, feeling the magnitude of the hurricane. We have heard of the destruction and of stuff that has taken place. I myself personally has not visited, but I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of what has taken place. The opposition perspective on thus far what has taken place. Tell us how does the opposition feel it recurs to the destruction that has taken place in the sister isles?
So when we look at the destruction on the sister isle and as well sister isles, and we do have some measure of destruction in northern parts of Grenada, we should not forget that. As a party, our heart really goes out to all of those persons who have been affected in such a significant way. And we pretty much can identify with the current situation, having experienced the Ivan Hurricane Ivan, which passed in 2004. So we can, identify with the challenges and the pain that these persons are going through right now. And for us as an opposition, we do wish that everyone would continue to put their hands on deck and everyone would continue to work together to ensure that relief is brought in the shortest possible space of time. The recovery process would be as short as possible. And as an opposition, we stand ready, absolutely ready, to contribute and to help in every possible way that we can. So it's a painful time for all Grenadians, I believe, even if you are not directly affected, just to look at what has happened and how people were affected, any Grenadian, every person, any part of the world seeing this, obviously would be quite affected and would want to have that measure of concern as to what can we do to help.
All right, great. Certainly clear for you. Now, the opposition, New National Party, have, of course, come up with a couple of initiatives that they will be launching out pretty soon. Tell us about some of these initiatives that, of course, that will go towards, of course, help in terms of the relief to the members of the Sister Isles of Carriacou. Not only members, but the people of the Sister Isles of Carriacou. We're all Grenadians, as a matter, if you can say that. Tell us about some of these initiatives that's soon to be launched or already launched, if there's any that's already been launched.
So even before going to what we have been doing, I want to use the opportunity to really recognize and commend and to speak of the contribution that have been made by so many others, those who are volunteering, those who have left their families, and spending hours day and night trying to assist in making people a bit more comfortable. So whether it's the cleaning of the streets, whether it's the cleaning of debris from houses that would have fallen, all of those persons who would have volunteered their time and their effort and given of their love thus far, I want to, this morning on behalf of our party, to recognize these people, all of the frontline workers, our police officers and all of those who have been, going the extra hours, away from their families and really doing everything beyond the call of duty. We want to recognize and applaud all of those persons. But Grenadians in the diaspora and at home, those people who, businesses and organizations who have really stepped up, to the table in this situation, we want to recognize and applaud them for all that they are doing. And we recognize that as absolutely necessary for the rebuilding process. So again, organization, institutions, volunteers, frontline workers, hats off to you. We applaud you and we recognize your contribution in this crisis. As an organization, we see it necessary to contribute as well, and that we have been doing. So the party has launched a couple of initiatives. I'm going to speak about those that have been launched and those that are to be launched within this week. So we started in Carriacou a Meals on Wheels initiative. And that program, that initiative, that project basically is to deliver hot meals to people around Carriacou. And we began in Carriacou because we felt that in that particular area, the need was greater based on the information that we had coming to us. Already there was set up in Pitimatnik a number of initiatives as it relates to that. And so that project has been going, that initiative has been going extremely well, and I want to recognize the persons on the ground who have been working very hard with us at the national level, working on the ground to facilitate the implementation of this initiative. The feedback has been awesome. It has been really, really good for us to know that that service is very much appreciated, and I want to especially recognize here Senator Cox and Sister Wendy Edmond for the contribution that they're making on the ground as it relates to the rollout of this project. Additionally, we have been supporting the cleanup, not just in Carriacou, but also in Grenada here. We have been supporting various groups, tangible contributions towards those individuals who are in the process of cleaning up, and we continue also to form teams of persons. I'm sure you've seen, for example, young people from our national youth arm out in St. Patrick's. They will be in Carriacou this weekend, and other groups within constituencies, supporting constituencies affected. We have also been contributing by way of the cleanup campaign. As it relates to initiatives that surrounds health and wellness, we have been engaging persons, individuals, supporting and facilitating, because we know the psychosocial aspect of this is so very serious and so very important. Sometimes we tend to downplay that, but as an opposition, we continue. So whether it's on our programs, whether initiatives that we have, we continue to include that psychosocial support that we know is absolutely necessary, but also supporting any initiative on the ground that is so timely needed at this time. In terms of activities and other initiatives that are, about to be rolled out, we would have launched the portable toilet initiative. So we are in the process of setting up those toilets throughout Carriacou in the first instance. And this initiative actually came from, or we considered this initiative as a direct response to some of the calls that we receive and the feedback that we got from on the ground as it relates to an urgent need. And so those portable toilets are going to be erected. As I said, we're in the process of getting that to Carriacou. The intention is to have that up tomorrow and to have it set up before the end of this week.
MP, can I just chime in a minute and ask, we have been hearing, of course, and of course, sensible initiatives that have been put on there by the new National Party. There's always that concern of towards the particular initiative that you plan on taking and so forth with the food drive and now the portable toilet and so forth. Has this initiative been in conjunction with NADMA, or is it, of course, the new National Party, of course, taking up this initiative on its own perspective?
Right. So, like other organizations, these initiatives are initiatives of the party that we have. We recognize the burden, in some cases, the chaotic situation, because we realize that this is not something that had long notice. So, whatever ways immediately that we can respond, quite obviously, we are more than happy to do so. Right?
Okay. I just wanted a bit of a clarification on that part. You were speaking
Yes.
of course, the portable toilets. You say that particular initiative should be kicking off as of tomorrow. You should be having that inside of Carrico. Where does it lead from there?
Right. So these facilities will be shipped to Carrico tomorrow, and they would be set up. We probably would give space a day or two to have them set up. We have a coordinator on the ground, Mr. Mathurin, who is actually working to ensure that the groundwork is done to facilitate that. And in addition to that, we have other persons who have volunteered their time and service, that they would ensure that the maintenance of these facilities is intact. So we are working with other persons who are volunteering in that regard. We are looking at the logistics currently, and we do not want to say definitely that within this week we would be able to get a facility or two to PT Matnik. I would not want to give that commitment, because we are still working with all of the logistics involved, because this is not as simple as maybe getting some food up, right? So there's the trucking that goes with it for the pumping of the sewer. There are a number of other things that are involved. And so we believe that we would want to start with, setting this up. And this is a temporary measure, because we expect that the government would roll out, the full recovery process of rebuilding and getting people's facilities back up, within the shortest possible time. So this is just a temporary relief measure, and we are expecting that in soon time some more permanent measure would be put in place to facilitate. And the concern really surrounding health, is one that we really share. And so we want to make sure whatever temporary we can do in that regard, we can quickly do so to assist. Just also want to make reference to the Housing Brigade program. We have a culture as it relates to Maroon and people helping other people to get their structures up, and we are quite used to that. So we do have a team, one house at a time, one community at a time, and we are hoping to expand that as more people come on board, where people have the material, so you would not have lost significantly. And of course, you just need the labor, right? The labor support to get your roof back on, or to get your structure in such a form that you are able to use it again. And so that we are pretty much involved in as well. We are also hoping that as persons receive materials from the government for repair, that we can also help in terms of providing some measure of labor based on the level of volunteerism that goes with that. So we mobilize the support where possible, and so we provide that brigade service as we can, both in the northern part of Grenada as well as Carrico and PT Matnik. We recognize, though, that as it relates to this particular initiative, one of the urgent need at this time is for cleaning up, right? Particularly Carrico and PT Matnik. And so, as I said, we are also supporting some cleanup activities, and where necessary, where possible, some support as it relates to the Housing Brigade program.
Okay.
And then the final area I would speak to is that of recommendations. While we believe that any person, any organization, any institution can make suggestions, recommendations to the government, we feel that we are indeed well placed to also do so in light of the fact that we led a government in during the COVID period and would have learned many lessons from that experience and would have had great experience that we can now share some recommendations with the government. And so we are recommending a couple things that I would be more than happy to share with you, JT.
Sure, let's hear some of those recommendations that you would like to throw to the, of course, the ruling administration.
Well, first of all, the area of housing, we can't rule out the fact that this is an emergency situation. There's an urgency as it relates to building back. And we are not unrealistic in that we don't expect that tomorrow everyone would have their roof back in place and all things would be well, by snapping of a finger. We are not unrealistic in that regard. But what we are suggesting are a couple measures that the government can take immediately. And I love to refer to them as low-hanging fruits that could be picked immediately. And so we are recommending in the area of housing, one, that the government can initiate a program. We want to refer to it as the Community Homestay Initiative. And that can be a call for Grenadian homeowners to offer temporary shelter to victims of Hurricane Beryl. We know some persons would have already taken the initiative to do so, and these might be persons who are in a position that they can afford. So I can afford to feed them, I can afford to take care of them for 3 months, for example. We are saying that initiative can now be made into a government initiative where persons can receive some form of support where needed to facilitate housing, temporary housing of these persons. Because we know, GT, that the condition that some people are under currently is less than desired. And we know that the options in Carriacou and Pitimatnik are very few. So we believe that the mainland can provide some structured support in that regard. The second low-hanging fruit as it relates to housing, for us, we see an excellent opportunity for utilizing the Chinese low-income housing units. And we believe that we should prioritize elderly, single mothers, and those with special needs. So we have hundreds of units available, and we believe that those should be used immediately to facilitate and to support persons who are desperately in need. And then the third and final area, low-hanging fruit on the housing program, we believe that another initiative could also be launched, calling on the private sector to team up with the government to provide additional accommodation for those who are desperately in need. So we know that there are persons, private persons, businesses that may be willing to offer 5 units, 10 units, whatever the case might be. We believe that some kind of partnership, and of course the modalities and the conditions, those can be worked out privately with those businesses, between them and the government. But we believe that is an opportunity right there. Outside of housing, we think that the partnering with financial institutions is very critical at this stage. So whether we're speaking insurance companies, credit union, banks, some initiative that is rolled out immediately to offer some kind of moratorium on mortgages for persons who have been affected. So people who have been paying a monthly amount to the bank, and their situation now, they lost everything. How can we find a way to work with these institutions collaboratively and to come up with something that can offer some relief to these persons? We had some initiatives like these in the past. I'm sure the staff at the Ministry of Finance is well au fait with those, and we can seek to kick those back into effect as soon as possible. Then there is the CRIF, the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility, that started under our administration in terms of contributing. And we know that facility is a mainly Caribbean-based initiative. And what it does is offer insurance coverage for countries in the region, and there's an extent outside, where suffering from any natural disaster, you can now benefit from some risk benefits coming out of that. And we are saying
seem to me have lost MP there for a wee bit. Folks, let's take a break and we'll be right back. MPB, I've lost you there for a wee bit. I would actually just stick a pin there for a wee bit and we'll conclude just after the break. We sort of have lost you there for a wee bit. We'll be right back. Stay with us, folks.
Good day, ma'am. What would make it easier for you to reduce your plastic waste?
Definitely incentives for bringing back plastic bottles, like discounts and loyalty points. It would motivate me to recycle more.
I think if restaurants let us use our own takeout containers, it's all about convenience, you know?
It would help if manufacturers start using less packaging altogether.
Better infrastructure, more investment in recycling facilities, and innovative solutions to tackle this growing problem of plastic pollution. It's not just about individual action, it's about systemic change.
With our population growing and plastic becoming more prevalent in packaging, we have to equip our waste management agencies to keep pace with change and handle the load.
There you have it, folks, straight from the streets. People are willing to do the responsible thing if we create the conditions for them to do so.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Spend $50 or more at any Hubbard's department or participating outlets for a chance to win free fuel, free drinks, free prizes, free property and vehicle insurance, free Hub TV and internet, free electricity, free coke, free water, free cooking gas, free paint supplies, free Dutch Lady milk, free passes to Sunshine promotion events for 2024, free groceries, all for one whole year. And every winner receives a free lunch package. But that's not all. Drive away in style in a brand new Isuzu D-Max. It sits, it doesn't guzzle. So fill out your entry.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point for today, Tuesday, the 9th day of July. 23 minutes after the hour this morning. Representing the opposition this morning, we have the Honourable Emmalin Pierre with us this morning, and we will continue our conversation. MP Pierre, good morning once again, and welcome back. MP Pierre, are you with me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, great.
We seem to be having some challenges, but I'm hearing you now.
When we did get that bit of course, drop there for a wee bit, you were talking about the activation of the Civ Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility. Continue on that vein for us. Let us hear of some of the, it goes along with some of the recommendation that the new national party, the opposition party here, is recommending for the, of course, the ruling administration. Let's hear of those as you continue on that, please.
So we are saying, and of course the government would be aware if that facility is indeed active. Of course, we would now be able to benefit from it. Our government, I believe it was sometime 2017 that we would have signed up to this initiative. And so you should be able to benefit from that in terms of dealing with the whole situation post-hurricane. Now, if it is not active, so if we have not been paying our contributions to that, then we are strongly suggesting that it should be done now. This is only July, and we are, we trust God that by no means would we have another such before the end of the hurricane season. We trust God sufficiently. But at the same time, we always have to be prepared. And so we are saying if that facility is not active, in the case of Grenada, that we should activate it so that in the event, should we, God forbid, that we would be able to tap into that facility, which is available for governments in the region, right? Additionally, we also believe that some stimulus package should be provided, and this should not be very difficult to do for at least, I would say, and we believe farmers and fishermen who have been affected by the passage and helping them to bounce back quickly so that the economy can now benefit from their activities. So that is another area that we believe is also urgent in terms of action, and we recommend that this is something that is a low-hanging fruit. We're only concentrating. We're not going to suggest big things that require months to activate and to get going. We only recommending some of those immediate short-term relief measures. We know that whenever there's a disaster, some people attempt to benefit from it more than they should. And so we believe that consumers need to be protected at this time. And we believe that there should be some added initiative. So we know that there is a price
Still may have lost you there once again, MP. I'm not sure we're having a little bit of challenges with the connection. We're having a wee bit of problem with the connection, MP. You can continue once again. I think your audio may have returned. It seemed to be a bit of unstableness in the internet connection this morning for some reason or the other. All right.
Okay. So I was making the point as it relates to, the stimulus package for farmers and fishermen, fisher folks. We believe that's urgent and critical, mindful that many of them have lost their boats and lost their only source of livelihood. Consumer protection, that is also key. We believe that what is available, what exists, could just be ramped up a bit to provide further protection so that nobody seeks to get away with taking advantage of what is of the situation right now. We've already been getting some reports, unfortunately, of how some people are attempting to abuse the situation, to take advantage of the situation in terms of hiking prices. And while this is not widespread, we hope, we are encouraging that something can be done in terms of consumer protection initiatives to mitigate against price gouging there, right? Concessions. We believe, and we do not believe that concessions should be abused, but in the situation, as an immediate response, we believe that concessions should be provided on specific relief items, and not just to any and everybody, because we are not irresponsible. We are saying to recognize organizations, institutions in the first instance, right? We believe that this is absolutely necessary. Any organization that the government feels can make a meaningful contribution and they can indeed bring in supplies that are needed, we believe that special consideration through concessions should be granted. As it relates to the contingency fund, and that's an area that we have raised serious concerns about, where the government would have seriously reduced the contingency fund associated with the CBI program. We are appealing that we revert to the 40% contingency fund arrangement that was in place. And it's simple to explain. We just have to go on the recommendations of our forefathers, our foreparents, our grandparents that would always advise us to have something proper put away for rainy days. And the serious reduction in the contingency fund, we are concerned that we might not be as prepared as we should be for any potential risk down the road, any potential disaster. As I said, we can pray and we can trust, but we also have to always be prepared.
All right. Lost Epi once again. Epi, are you back today?
Similar initiatives.
We're still having that time to time lost in terms of connection with you, but you're back now. Let's hear from you.
Yes, so I'm not sure where you lost me, but I was making reference to the 40% contingency fund.
Yes, you can pick it from there.
Right, and to say that we strongly recommend that the government would revert to that contingency fund 40%. That was recently reduced to at least 10%. And we thought then, and we are still convinced that that was not a good move by the government, because we need to always have something substantial enough in the event that we face disasters like what we are facing now. It is that buffer that the past administration, our administration, was able to use when COVID came. So we would not have been able to do many of the things that we did then had it not been for the contingency fund. And so we are not sure why this was reduced so significantly, but we just want to remind ourselves of what our grandparents would always say. Make sure that you put aside something reasonable for rainy days, and you never know when rainy days would show up. So that is another recommendation that we believe is one that the government should take on board. And then the final two that I'll mention this morning, one, the repurposing of the use of the Saudi Arabian loan, $100 million in loan, and then we were told that this loan was to facilitate some development, particularly in the St. George's area, etc. We are saying that it's a good time that we can repurpose the use of that loan or a percentage of it to fast track the reconstruction efforts locally. And this is not an impossibility. So, for example, during the COVID period, if we want to call it that, there were several arrangements where we had to repurpose funds to facilitate the quick movement, the immediate response. And we are saying that this is something that could also be done in short time, low-hanging fruits. And I'll just give an example specific to Ministry of Education, where we had some funds from the Caribbean Development Bank that was allocated for the training of teachers and other activities. And in the crisis, we were able to sit with CDB and to decide on how we would be able to repurpose some of these funds for immediate response to benefit teachers. So, for example, we felt that every teacher needed a laptop at that time, and we were able to do that by repurposing some of these funds, and of course later on to find ways locally that you can now do those things that you wanted to do or had planned to do initially. And then the final recommendation at this point is to do with the whole issue of property tax. Now, many persons, as I said before, lost everything, not just their homes, everything, right? And in terms of property, we believe that there can be an immediate tax waiver for owners where homes were destroyed. We believe that relief and those relief would help some of these persons to build back faster, especially where they would not be depending on government support to do so. So as an opposition, and if you listen to those recommendations, they are not outrageous, they are not unrealistic, they are just what we call low-hanging fruits that we believe the government can pick immediately to fast-track the whole process of rebuilding. As an opposition, we recognize, as I said earlier, that all hands must be on deck. So whether it is that we provide recommendations, advice, suggestions, we are going to do that. Whether it means that we assist with feeding persons, cleaning up, whatever we have to do that is possible, that we can do in our current position in opposition, we are quite prepared to do so.
MP, if I could chime in on you once again, in some of the recommendations that you have just mentioned, how effective do you see in terms of bringing back a level of stability here on Ireland? I guess it would not be in the short term, but tell us, and not be in the long term, I should say, but in the short term effect, how effective do you think those recommendations can be?
I think very, very effective. And the first thing that just came to my mind when you asked the question is people's state of mind, right? I've spoken to some persons and you can tell that mentally, they need every possible support that they can. They are still dealing with the trauma. They are still dealing with the experience of their roof being blown out, probably when they least expect it to happen. So every possible thing that could be done will help these people from a psychosocial perspective, but also from other perspectives, like, for example, the physical, where you're building back a house.
All right, may have lost the MP there once again. Forgive us, folks, for that.
Financially easier for them to bounce back. But we believe that these measures would give a sense of hope to people, right? It will ease the burdens at this time, and it would also help to quickly bring back some measure of normalcy, right? Because once you have normalcy, some measure of normalcy, a reasonable measure of normalcy, then of course economic activities would restart, right? And so you want to make sure that everything continues to roll back as normal in the shortest possible time. Mind you, I said this before, we do not expect everything to be with the snap of a finger, the magic wand, that everything, it's a rebuilding process. But if you take that process, if you gauge that process well, if you strategically roll out a plan for that process, we believe that it would be easier to get to that end point, right? So structure and strategy becomes extremely important at this time.
All right. You did mention that government should utilize the Chinese low-income housing units, and you prioritize it to, the elderly, single mothers, and those in special needs. We've been hearing some issues that have been circulating, of course, during the course of the hurricane itself. How do you think that would actually work out, if in terms of the recommendation? Know that we had the issue beforehand.
Well, I believe it's knowledge to everyone that we have serious problems with the approach that the government has taken with regards to distribution of these units, right? Under our administration, the Prime Minister, then Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, and the very said Minister for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, may God rest his soul, Brother Elvin Nimrod,
yes,
journeyed to China to negotiate for these units. Now, the construction took place, and I believe it is
still having that bit of a connection issues there.
Based on the promise that was made that these units will be given out to low-income families based on the arrangement made and the request made to the government and people of the People's Republic of China, that this government would have followed suit in that regard.
All right. MP, we continue to lose connection with you from time to time. We due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we hope to stabilize the connection a wee bit. We'll be right back after the break.
Mark your calendars for a day of non-stop fun and laughter. The St. George's Lions Club, Spice Mass, and Glen present All Mass 2024. It's all happening at the Grenada Youth Center on Sunday, July 21st, starting at 3 p.m. Tickets are just $35 for adults and $15 for children 12 and under. Grab yours from any Lions and Leo members, Grenadian Optical, and Clear Vision. All Mass promises humorous antics and infectious laughter for the whole family. Be there. This advertisement sponsored Demerara Mutual Life. Am with them.
Is more than just a storm. So when a hurricane is coming, please prepare your home. You can do this by having an emergency kit ready, covering your windows, trimming your trees, clearing your gutters, reinforcing your garage doors, installing a generator, and knowing your evacuation routes. Failing to do so can lead to immense damage to your home. Thank you, and please stay safe this hurricane season.
course, welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio, GBN TV. With me this morning, representing the new National Party, that's the opposition here in Grenada. We have the Honorable Emmalin Pierre with us. MP, good morning once again, and welcome back. Hope we have a better connection in this segment. Not too far before we take a wrap for today's program. One question: has the opposition leader, has he visited Carriacou as yet and had a personal look for himself in terms of the destruction there?
So just before going to answer that question, let me just go back to the previous question.
Okay.
So I was making the point that we initially made the point that these housing units were negotiated for low-income families and for persons who were in need of these facilities. Unfortunately, and we feel very strongly about this, the government has sought to commercialize this program, and we feel very strongly that this should not be the case, that the units should be distributed to people in need. We feel very strongly about that. We've expressed that view before. And in this particular situation, we believe it's a timely opportunity, right, where the government can now distribute these units based on priority. I mentioned before, elderly, single mothers. So many of these people have lost everything. And the conditions that they are in right now is less than desired. And so it's an opportunity to move them into those units. And we are calling strongly on the government to do so, right? We believe that there are sufficient units in Carriacou to make a big difference in this situation, and we believe and we trust that the government would move to take that particular action as soon as possible. I'm not sure what is the reason that this is not done. Someone said to me yesterday that the reason has to do with electricity, that there's no electricity in the building. But that's the case with the shelter. That's the case with everywhere else where there's a challenge with electricity. And so I believe that many persons, so even if you have a generator in the shelter, for example, realistically, you can give every unit a generator, but people would survive because many of these said people, where they are now, they do not have electricity. And so we are calling on the government, we are pleading with the government to make these units available, right? It was never meant to be a commercial activity. It was meant for the poor people who cannot afford. And of course, we are appealing in that regard. As it relates to the opposition leader. The opposition leader is due to visit Carriacou and Petit Martinique tomorrow, and a team of persons would be accompanying him in that regard. And we are going to lend some support, additional support, to initiatives that were started. We wanted to ensure that this is not for us a joyride or just going to see. We do not want to go to Carriacou and Petit Martinique just to see. The opposition leader has always been very straight about that he wants to mobilize as much support as possible, that when he goes there, he can actually go with something. So some of these initiatives that were started, those were priority for us. And as we said, tomorrow, some of the other facilities, like, for example, the toilet facilities, food items, other things that we have been mobilizing. Some of those will be going up tomorrow to support some of the programs that we are working in conjunction with others up there. And of course, as I said, there is a team that will be traveling with him to Carriacou. So he's expected to be on island tomorrow, but he has been in contact daily with our representative in Carriacou, Brother Cox, who has been doing an exceptional job in terms of trying to provide encouragement, support to people in general. And this is not politics here, because this is not a time to think of who is NMP, who is NDC. Whatever support he has been able to do, to give, that we could have facilitated and supported him, we have been doing that, and we continue to encourage them to do the best that they can for everybody or anybody that they can support at this time. So he would be physically there there on Wednesday, which is tomorrow.
All right. I also want to ask, what is the New Nationals Party, of course, take thus far on government's, management of the relief effort post, Beryl? What is the opposition's take on that so far in terms of the management of the relief efforts to Carriacou and the Petit Martinique, the northern part of the mainland Grenada? What's your take on the relief efforts so far as respects to how the government is managing it?
Mm-hmm. As it relates to government's management and response to this crisis, we believe that government could have been more prepared for this. When we look at some of the things that we've observed, some of the responses, I don't want to get into too much of the details of the centers and so on and so forth. We believe that agencies under the government could have been far more prepared to respond to the response. And then the system and the structure. As I said, there is what I would refer to as best practices, right? And that is why institutional knowledge is so critical in times of crisis. Now, if you attempt to ensure that you're passing on, that you're continuing, that you're engaging, even persons who would have had significant experience in some areas, that is critical in terms of response. So in terms of the actual on-the-ground response, we believe that there was a breakdown there, but we really do express the view of how happy we are that many people have come forward and provided support to the government, working with the government to ensure that we move forward. That is what is critical for us. We are not placing too much emphasis on what happened the night, what happened the next day, etc., etc. We are concerned about moving forward. We care about this country deeply, and we want to give whatever support we can, not looking back too much at the past, but looking forward to the future. And as I said earlier, whatever advice that we can give, whatever support we can give, we encourage everyone to join with the government, to join with us, to join with every organization that is contributing hand in hand, which is our culture, which is who we are, coming forward in time of crisis, forgetting differences and just putting our hands to the wheel and making things happen. That for us is critical at this time. So yes, there was some breakdown, some serious shortcomings, but we do not want to focus on that. We want to focus on how can we do things better, how can we move forward in terms of building the structure and getting things to the point where we can say safely that we have rebuilt and we've rebuilt better.
All right. MB, we drew for a break, or a final break in this segment for the morning. When we come back, we will entertain some calls. We have approximately 10 minutes left on today's program. We certainly will take some calls when we come back from our listeners and viewers. They may have a question or two they may like to ask. When we come back, stay with us, folks. We will be right back.
Tropics have come to life. A storm is threatening. The clock is ticking. It's time to take action. We're just 48 hours out. A hurricane watch is imminent or has just been issued. Get your car filled with gas and make sure you have plenty of cash. And now's the time to check your evacuation kit. Make sure you have a few days of food and water, and grab any last-minute items. And check your insurance papers and other important documents and make sure they're up to date and saved electronically. Also, protect the documents that you are taking with you by putting them in a waterproof envelope. And don't forget to keep tabs on the forecast.
New models are just coming in, so be ready to adjust to any changes in the storm track or intensity. And remember that
the storm is growing stronger and getting closer. We're only 24 hours out. A hurricane warning is up. So finish securing windows and openings with shutters or plywood. Remove all loose items on your property and follow advice of local officials and evacuate if told to do so. Now, the outer bands of the storm are just coming ashore, and it's time to be at your safe location. Family members and friends, they need to know where you are, so share your plans. And remember, all your electronics need to be fully charged, because with a storm like this, let me tell you, the power, it could be out for days. And the weather's going downhill fast. Landfall is upon us. Trees are starting to come down.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. We're inside the final segment of today's program. Roughly 8 minutes moving out before the top of the hour. MP Pierre, good morning to you once again, and welcome back. We're going to entertain some calls from listeners and viewers in this segment, folks, and I beg of you to keep your contributions, of course, short, so we can accommodate as much calls as we can for the next segment. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good morning and welcome. Caller, good morning and welcome. Caller, good morning. Good morning.
GT.
Good morning to you, sir.
Okay. It's Pierre. GT asks you a simple question. How do you think the performance of the government handling the hurricane? You're still back to the same old way. You ask a simple question. Just answer the question straight up.
Caller, you just get over the question. Let's go on, caller. Let's go. MP, will you willing to respond to the caller?
Well, I would just simply say this, that your question was specifically about the relief. And so the caller has broadened this question into another one.
All right.
Right, and I think I would have responded in the way that I wanted to respond.
Caller via WhatsApp, good morning, you're welcome.
Yeah, hi, GT, good morning.
Good morning to you.
And good morning to Miss Pierre. All right, GT, my question to Miss Pierre. Miss Pierre, now 9 days after, 9 days since the storm passed, we just hearing you guys. Could you explain to me why the opposition leader is not on the program this morning instead of you, and why didn't you guys make a statement together with the Prime Minister, because we all in this together, as you say now, because you guys been missing in action. And I think you guys too late. And all I'm hearing from you is they should, I have this. People suffering. A lot of people support you guys, you know what I mean? And now you come in and all of we hearing is excuse, because you guys feel a little losing out now. The Prime Minister again, all the credit, a little looking for some credibility, the Grenadians. Grenadians remember NNP and never put them back in office.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. MP, any response to the caller?
Okay, well, except to say an excellent campaign effort, and I'm sure this is not the time for campaigning. The caller obviously has not been listening from the beginning of the program, where I would have indicated, since the hurricane would have passed, what are some of the initiatives that we have been leading as a party? What are some of the things we have done? The political leader has made a statement. We have been engaging with various individuals and organizations nationally, businesses throughout Grenada. We have been on the ground in Carriacou through our representatives doing a number of initiatives. I would not take the time to go over every single thing that we have been doing. Now, if the caller wanted a joint statement between the government and the opposition and view that as the best response that could have come from us, I beg to disagree. That to me is not as valuable as feeding persons who at this time do not have the facilities to cook. I don't think that the political leader making a joint statement with the government is as important and relevant at this time as providing portable toilet facilities for persons who have nowhere to use at this time. I don't think that the Prime Minister coming on this program this morning and the opposition leader is as important as being able to assist persons to rebuild their homes, right? So, caller, I do appreciate, your interest in having the political leader on the program this morning and probably having him make a joint statement with the government. But I just want to say to you that you should rest assured that we have been doing greater things than those, and we continue to do that. And we do believe that this is not a time for politics. We could have come here and say some different things, very, very different things. But we choose to take an approach which says, hey, we are prepared to do what we can. We are prepared to support any initiative that we can to rebuild this country, because whether you're NNP or NDC, people are hurting right now. And people really don't, quite honestly, I don't even think people care about NNP and NDC as they care about having a roof over their head, having food to eat, having water to drink, having clean facilities that they can use at this time. So I would not reduce this to a political debate at this time. Maybe some other time in the future.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, you're welcome. Good morning.
Yeah. Morning.
Good morning to you. Let's hear your contribution, please.
Yeah, calling to say the opposition leader playing too much politics. Don't walk around the time you're supposed to come out. Don't come out with a bottle in your hand and a glass in your hand. What you did, what you gave the people. You have all this money. What you're doing for the Grenadian people. Nothing at all these people are doing for the Grenadian people. Only playing politics with everything. NNP is a nasty organization.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. 435-2041, 435-2041. That's the number. We still have approximately just around 5 minutes left on today's program. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I am saying that now is the time that everybody should join hands and hand, regardless of NMP and NDC. This is not the time for playing nasty politics. This is the time for everybody get together. What NMP they're doing, NDC, Red Cross, NADMA, everybody's doing. Remember we had Ivan. I was in the battle up in St. David, so I know what it is. Right? So when callers calling and saying it's nasty politics, right? This is not nasty politics. This is about building back Grenada. Look at the state of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I have sister up there. I have nieces, I have nephews up there. They lost their homes. You know, so this is not about nasty politics. Now it's about building back, and everybody have to put hands together to help to build back. And the people are suffering in Carriacou, right? Those that said about nasty politics, they must be happy and comfortable, right? Up to now, my heart is aching for my sister, and I cannot see my sister up to now, right? I don't know the state that she in. So this is the thing. Don't call in and saying about nasty politics. They're getting people really angry now.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. And let's go to the phone line and entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
This is the first time I am hearing the opposition on this disaster that we've experienced. And I really want to commend the MP Emmalin on her presentation this morning. I found it extremely well prepared. I found it balanced. Of course, we expect the opposition to be in opposition. We do not expect them to be giving the government kudos on anything if they could help it. That is the nature of our oppositions in this country, have functioned. But I did find Madame Emmalin to have prepared. I found her to be balanced. In areas where she criticized the government, she was extremely low-key about that. She did not provide specifics, with the exception of one or two things. And overall, I found it in a well...
All right, caller. Thank you so much. And we, of course, MP, any response to the caller of this thus far?
Just to say that I think the last two callers do understand that we are in a crisis. We are in a serious crisis at this time. And at this time, it is not about politics. It is not about scoring points. If I was seeking to score points, I may have come here and given some, very glaring examples of things that I think could have been done differently. And, I'm not interested this morning, and our party is not interested at this time in politics. What we are interested in right now is how do we help the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique to bounce back? How do we help the people in the north of this country to bounce back? So we do have housing units in St. Patrick's. Can we open it up to allow some of them to access it, right? How do we understand that the psychological state of people right now, they don't care about nasty this and nasty that and which party is nasty, which party is clean. Now is not a time for that. I mean, as a matter of fact, I would say there's never a time for this, right? At the end of the day, we are one people. today, as old people would say, today is you, tomorrow could be me, right? And so I'm saying this again, we do not believe this is a time for too much talk, and being in the media. Maybe we've become, in recent times, very accustomed to this. So for us, it's not about social media appearances and making, those kind of, using those kind of opportunities to politicize this. We are concentrating, and the political leader has been saying this since the start of the relief, our response to the hurricane. He's been saying that consistently. Hey, let us concentrate on doing, not on talking. Let us concentrate on finding ways to help people, right? And everything we do doesn't have to be publicized. Right. That is the approach of our party has taken at this time. And I've said before, several initiatives that we've already rolled out. Yesterday, I saw some photographs, and we've chosen not to even publicize those. Persons who have been receiving food expressing, how important that is, that they didn't have a proper meal since the passage of the hurricane, what they've been eating, the cricks and the tin stuff, and so on. So getting a hot meal for them was a big thing. I mean, we could have taken the pictures and the videos and post them, but we took a decision not to share those photographs and those videos. So we continue to work, we continue to do what we have to do. And I know you're wrapping up, so I want to grab the opportunity as I started to really express gratitude and appreciation for every person who has been involved in the recovery process thus far, right? Every person, every institution, every organization, every volunteer, every business, persons within the public service, every person who has been volunteering thus far. And again, our heart goes out to the people of Carriacou, Petit-Martinique, and others in the north of the island in Grenada. Our heart goes out to you, and we want to just express to you this morning that all hope is not lost, right? I heard someone crying over her son, and, it reminds me, baby, right? And I'll just end with this. I had to say to her, and use my own son as an example. My first son was born just about 2 weeks, just a little less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Ivan, right? And I know how I felt then as a mother. Would he survive? Would he make it? And I was speaking to this woman, and I said to her, hey, this is the boy who was born less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Ivan. This is him now, man, and he's doing pretty well. So your son is good. Don't give up hope. And that is our message to the people of Carriacou, Petit-Martinique, and Grenada who have been affected by this hurricane. Don't give up hope. A house could be rebuilt, right? Thank God. Let us thank God for lives that have been spared. Let us thank God for the possibilities that exist to rebuild. And that is why we are going to concentrate on the positive, and we're not going to go down in the gutter on this at all.
All right.
We won't the gutter.
Pierre, I want to thank you a whole lot for being on the program this morning. It was a pleasure to have you. Our best wishes goes out to you for the rest of the day, and hope all is well with you also. Be good. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All the best. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point for today here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Join us again for another edition. That's where we say goodbye.